Well, I've been hoping to have my next guest on for a while now. Sandra ESTOK of, well, first of all, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Alex. This is wonderful to be here with you today.
I love your title, Happily Ever Cyber. And I'm going to get into that right now because there have been scams. But I sent you an article recently about the 17-year-old called what?
Yep.
Al Capone about hacking. Isn't it
Yep.
such a, and they hack like millions of dollars. So isn't that story such a sign of the times where teenagers can do all that harm through the cyber web?
Yeah, I mean, definitely that story, it's been in the news, and it's not new that teenagers have abilities to navigate technology. In some cases, that ability, it's not necessarily used for good purposes. And, this case is a controversial, SIM swap, which is a technique used for hackers of, that is to a hackers or someone that wants to impersonate you, and they can do anything with that phone. And this is how, in this case, this hack actually occurred. So, we use technology and we rely on our phone so much, and sometimes our phone is like that validation of our identity. And in this case, an impersonator that gets, to transfer your phone into their phone now has access to your text messages. It has access to all your information, and definitely an area of opportunity. And there are many things that we can do to prevent that. Obviously, in this case, it's now in a civil court, so it's going to be a very interesting thing to follow up. But I will say, for anyone that is listening, what can you do to protect and to prevent that someone swaps your phone is put a PIN number. And so call your provider, set up a PIN number with your Verizon, AT&T, and that will help in a way, unless there is an insider person in the provider that is also collaborating with the hacker. But in most cases, if you don't have a PIN number, somebody else can impersonate you with social media information and everything that we share. So if you have a PIN number, is one way that you can reduce the chance of someone doing that.
Well, you have so much experience in this, unfortunately. So tell us why you got into the cyber world and combating this.
Oh, yes, definitely. So I was returning from visiting my mom, Alex, in Colombia. This was in 2006. I have been in the industry in IT for many years. And I'm in the plane. I'm returning, from my vacation time. And the captain announces that Homeland Security officers were going to board the plane and to collaborate. So I definitely hand my passport to the officers, two officers. And to my surprise, Alex, I am the only person that is marched off the plane and thrown into that room, that famous room.
Okay.
And no phone calls. Of course, I don't know what's happening. My husband, he's waiting for me in Chicago, and I'm about to miss my connecting flight. So 10 hours later, I'm handed back my passport, and it's revoked. Yeah. So I was able to come to my, I was living in the Midwest, to my employer, and we started to work with different attorneys. And a few weeks later, I'm in Venezuela, my native country, and I'm trying to get a new visa with with the help of these attorneys. And in the interview, the officials in the embassy kept asking me about China. Why were you in China? Who you know in China? Who's your contact in China? And Alex, I didn't know what they were talking about because I'd never been in China or Asia. Well, somehow a smuggler in China got a hold of my information and was smuggling women into the US using my identity. So, yes, so I'm just going to stop for you to ask me.
Because I've always had the fear, like, let's say I lose my regular card identity, and I think they can do that. But now it's so advanced that even a smuggler in China could take someone's identity.
Yep.
And not that any of us are at fault, but how can we secure it? Like, how do we make sure it's all secure for ourselves so that doesn't happen? I mean, did they find that your security, it was like a breach, and how they find your phone was not secure or something like to that effect?
So, passports, IDs, every day there is a victim of identity theft every 2 seconds.
Mm.
So that means, our identities are stolen in a regular basis, and it varies. In my case, was my passport, and that's how the hackers were using, because I was under a working visa. So my case is different because it's very attractive for a criminal to get a hold of a blanket visa that is given to a company, so you can, pretty much anyone
Sure.
potentially could be coming in the US using my identity. Now, we caught it really early, I think. So the downside for me is that for 6 years, I have to prove over and over that I was the real me. So that lasted 6 years, and I travel a lot for my job. And I can, when I Google my name, everything was in Chinese, and not even my husband wanted to travel with me. Now, you asked me, what can we do, right?
Yeah, well, and first of all, so you got into the security part of this. Is that what Happily Ever Cyber does, the securities? And did you ever think you'd get into that kind of world when you 6 year, before this even happened?
I was in IT, and at that time, cybersecurity was not in the news as much as it is today. So identity theft was really not something I was worried about at the time. And I didn't know what was happening to me. I just knew that every time I travel, I have to prove I was me. And it was a painful experience. And you go through all of that, um, every day or every time that you travel. Now, few years later, I entered the cybersecurity world, and then I understood what happened to me, and I understood who is behind cybercrime, and all the different techniques that are used for either stealing your identity or for committing cyber crimes in order to either get your money, get your name, get your information. I mean, there's so many reasons why cybercrime happens. And the reason I created the Happily Ever Cyber book series is because I want to create something different in this space, something that empowers and inspires people to protect what matters most to them. I'm very blessed, and I believe God is being on my side my entire life.
And
Alex, yes, amen. And if I cannot do the work that I'm doing if it wasn't for Him. I mean, Jesus is always in my life, and I came from a very humble beginnings, and the odds of me being having this conversation with you are very small.
sure.
And it's all because God has a purpose, and I think that's what I'm about to do, and bring cybersecurity and bring a new perspective, a fresh
I'm so glad we went there because I've
mhm.
been I've been broached about talking with people about technological apps and Bible apps and all that. And we can weigh into that because you probably have a lot of experience and knowledge on that. But first of all, did you ever think God would get technological in your life to have your calling be through technology like this, or
I will say it was never as clear as it is right now. I knew that I had a purpose because the way that my life has
Mhm.
evolved, it's been very credible. And every time I go through a tough time, I know I pray and I say, I know there is there is a lesson, there is something that you want me to learn in this,
Mm.
or I'm offering that aim, for others. And I used to do that my whole life. And um, now 2 years ago, I left my corporate job. It was a very good job. I have been in the
Still as IT,
corporate world for
still as IT.
IT and cybersecurity. It was cybersecurity. I was in my last
Okay.
6 years. So
Gotcha.
I have been for 20 years, IT, cybersecurity, data privacy. And I, I think God put the things that I needed to listen, and I did. And I decided to just open my company, leave my job, and take that leap of faith, because
Mm,
I know I'm not alone, and I'm so excited to do what I'm doing right now. Every day it's more clear my purpose, and every day I discover why I need to do what I'm about to do with technology. And so, to your question, yes, technology is always being my channel with God,
yeah.
I will say, and I want to bring that, because for me, my end goal is to create a happily ever cyber foundation.
Mm. Oh wow.
And yes, so it's about, when I think about two problems in the world. So one is cybersecurity is crazy, cybercrime is super
Mm.
um, active, and we have a shortage of resources. So there's not enough people that can do all the jobs. There are not enough, compared to how many criminals and how much cyber crimes evolves. There are not many skilled individuals that can fulfill all the jobs that are available.
Mm.
Now, we have a second biggest problem, which is the amount of orphans and foster care kids that are in the system. So there are 153 million orphans, and in the United States, we don't have orphanages. We have
Mm.
foster care system. But one of the issues in some cases, if you once you are 18 or considered an adult and you are off the system, and if you
Mm.
haven't really develop the skill set to enter society, what happens is 50% of these kids become homeless, or become or part of a human traffic, or they take their lives. And when I was doing all this research, that touched my heart so much, and I know I have to do something about it. And that's how the books and everything that I'm doing, it's with that purpose in mind, and it's solving the shortage in technology, at the same time bringing kids and bringing
Oh.
orphans or foster care kids technology, and a way for them to be empowered and to know they are loved, they are useful, they can be an asset to society. And I was empowered and I was encouraged very early in my life by so many mentors, so I have to give that back. And
Sandra, I
just
love how God has taken you from being hacked to now opening up a channel for children
yes.
of lesser need. And I want to continue on that path because it's so intense. But with regard to the hacking, you were about to say a couple minutes ago what you learned and how we can protect ourselves during this crisis. So delve into that, and then I do want to ask you about the human trafficking because this is a big issue too.
Yes.
We're fighting so
Yep.
many fronts right now. So let's break it down one by one. Uh,
Yes, one by one.
yeah.
So let's start with where we are right now. We are in COVID-19 or coronavirus. So what's happening is cybercrime is rising. Usually when news and topics of interest are out,
Mm,
cyber criminals, I call them cyber monsters, and cyber monsters will take advantage of it and will start sending emails or sending text messages or sending social media, and will use different techniques in order for you to believe they are a legit source. So when you see an email about coronavirus or COVID-19 asking you, hey, we have the latest information, we know how many cases are signed up here, or do this, don't pay attention to any of that, because it's cyber criminals or cyber monsters trying to get into your computer, getting into your life. And right now you don't need to be dealing with identity theft or cybercrime. So the best advice is go to the sources. So if you want to know about coronavirus or COVID-19, go to the CDC or go to the healthcare or health organization that you're looking for, or go to the media outlet. Get your information from legit sources, and don't even engage. If you get a phone call, just don't even answer, because
Okay,
it's not worth
can I
it.
show people something that I've gotten
Yeah, of course.
personally? Because let me ask you if you can identify this. So I got this weird thing
Hmm.
that said, "Dear customer, your Apple ID has just been used to purchase." And I'm like, I never bought this, and you could tell this receipt is not legitimate at all. Is that correct?
Yep. Yeah, that's correct. That is a perfect example of a phishing email, and it's trying to impersonate Apple, asking you probably to either engage with them. So if you respond to that email, they'll come back to you and they'll might say, hey, okay, I need your ID, or I need this. And that's how, you get hacked, and your
Oh,
identity gets compromised, or your computer gets compromised. And we're seeing that every day.
Ninja, we were before this COVID crisis. We also were seeing the grandparent scheme, the elderly
Oh,
scheme.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Hmm.
How much has that increased because of COVID? Because obviously they are at risk, and
Hmm.
I'm sure they were being targeted much more now during the crisis than before.
Yeah. So security research shows that from January through April, end of April,
This year.
30,000%. Yeah, this year, 30,000% increase in just COVID-19 related scams or phishing emails. And I mean, that number is so huge. And, with remote workers and how we have to react to continue either with our jobs or schools, we were forced to technology very fast, and in not all the cases we were ready for it. And that's obviously creating that perfect environment for cybercrime to rise and cyber monsters to take advantage of us.
Sandra, the human trafficking now, because here's the thing, none of this evil stops during Corona. This was my whole issue. Maybe you agree that we were told to stop, but the evil didn't stop. And human trafficking is no different, right?
Absolutely. Hmm. Yeah.
So, any,
So
mhm.
yeah. So it's I, these are cases where you know evil and good is a topic that sometimes we don't. It's hard to understand. It's hard to understand the mindset.
Mhm.
Why would you take another life, and where would you
Mhm. Yeah.
another soul through the tribulations that they are taking? And
Okay.
I think I'm hopeful that somehow the crisis that we are in
Mhm.
will bring us also a different sense of humanity. And I
Mhm.
have seen in some cases there was one criminal organization that actually ceased their operations, and that was one good news in the industry. So they decided, we're not going to target you anymore. They actually release all the encryption keys that they have for all the victims. um, you don't see that every day, but there are some situations that are happening right now that maybe a criminal is changing. And I always want to see the best in people, and I'm hoping that somehow the not only the criminals that harm because of money, but the ones that kidnap, or the ones that are harming a human in the worst possible way, um, that they change, and that all these crises bring us more together.
Sandra, in your experience, how cold-blooded were these people that were going after you and that you found in the dark webs of the internet as you became a cybersecurity expert?
you know it, in my case in particular, they were more about business. So they used my name to create companies and fake companies. They didn't really harm me directly as a person. They wanted my information. So they had businesses between China and Latin America for import and export goods. And when I googled my name, everything was in Chinese, Alex. So but it was more a business
That,
reason, and really harming me
oh,
personally. So in that case, it was painful, but it wasn't really, it could have been worse. And definitely there has been situations where victims have suffered very much. And that's what I want to change. I want to help not to be in my shoes or somebody else's shoes, because we could prevent many things. I mean, obviously nothing is 100% bulletproof, but there are many things you and I could do. And the example that you just show me with your email, so you didn't click on it, you didn't engage on that, and that's perfect. That is exactly what we need to do, Alex. So you have control over that.
In that case, though, well, in all cases, we should just read through the email before deciding to click whatever, because some people jump at it and say, wait a minute, what's this about?
Yep.
So, how do we calm that compulsion?
My technique is it's breathe. It's that simple. So when you get an email and when you get that, if you are a believer, just make a pray or just breathe, just be present, be there with yourself. And I think that will reduce the chances of you becoming a victim of cybercrime significantly, because now once you understand, you're like, oh, okay, your example, you saw that email, you didn't click on it, and now you have time to actually start understanding the mindset. And you're like, I didn't buy that in Apple, or I don't have that account. I really, this is all a fake. And now I think that knowledge comes down to you when you give that space in yourself.
This is maybe a bizarre question, but as we're in the middle of this now, dealing with the cop killing of George Floyd and the horror that is, could scammers take advantage even of those types of situations when people are rioting and caught and reacting to this? Is that a chance for scammers too?
Absolutely. Any information in the news, any video, anything that will attract people to click to know more. It's a perfect way for scammers to, inject their malware or their software that could compromise you. So definitely, again, just be very careful with the links and with the videos or the information that is shared with you through your text messages or through email. See what's happening, because it's just again, perfect storm for impersonators or for scammers or cyber monsters to.
Have you ever seen an organization like Black Lives Matter who may be trying to do good for their community, yet they get hacked and they have an email on their behalf that's fake? Has there been a result of that at all? Any cases of that?
They are. I mean, we see them even in the biggest companies. Not only organizations. Yeah, somebody could impersonate, your website. Someone could impersonate you and pretend to be a media outlet that is very popular. And you go to the news and you go there and boom, you get,
And it's
hacked.
It's important to talk about this because people are wanting the latest information. Like, let's say someone puts out a fake link. Hey, this guy's been charged. Well, if you're looking at the news, that's not the case. Yet some people may actually click that link. It's sad to say.
Absolutely. Curiosity, I mean, I think it's one of the reasons why hackers, scammers, and cyber monsters take advantage of us, because we want to know, and we, that necessity for knowing what's going on, and, without thinking too much, it could really harm us. I will say, from COVID-19 to now, hundreds of thousands of fake websites pop every day with either COVID-19 themes or incentive packages because of all the unemployment. And, that is a huge scam that is also happening right now. Yeah. So again, just be very careful where you click and where you go.
The unemployment's not fake, just to get that clear. The unemployment's not fake, but people are being like a resource for people, and that could be a fake resource. Like, hey, don't click this to submit a claim here because that's not an actual government entity.
Well, there has been both. There actually a lot of local governments have been scammed with fake individuals pretending to be, someone that it's not really that person, and they are scamming some of the local governments.
And they're just going out as if it were the real person.
Yes, because right now, you see a lot of local governments wants to help. Either unemployment is really bad, so they want to help out, and in some cases, someone impersonated, let's say you or me. Now they are receiving that check on our behalf instead of that real person.
Absurd. Yeah. And I wonder, is there more stories out there like this that I can read?
Many. I can definitely say, there every day, there are many cases related to employment, even in some cases, emails. That was 2 weeks ago, where you will get an email telling you that you have been laid off, or that your job doesn't need you anymore, or you are in a furlough now scheme, and they send you more details about your package, and that is also scam.
So you're saying that maybe, I mean, not that the 40 million shouldn't be overlooked, but that could be a number that is maybe lesser. Is that possible? Like
Ask me again.
They say today it totaled 40 million unemployment. Is that a true number, or do you think that's inflated by fake people claiming?
It could be, but that those are official numbers. I think that there is no. I don't have a calculation or a way to say that number is not accurate. I am more going into what's happening with the scams, but
Gotcha.
I know that this is the perfect opportunity for these scammers because there are so many different topics. It's not only COVID-19, it's also unemployment, and it's also the incentives that we're getting, small businesses. There are many different ways they could tap into and to try to get our information. And this is the best advice, is just staying alert and
Sandra,
just not engaging.
It sounds to me like you're fighting on the front lines of this. So are you in partnership at all, like with the government that's tracking all this, or are you doing your own kind of work? What's your role during this whole crisis?
Yeah, so my role is, I'm independent, so I don't work with any government agency. I am more actually focused on consumers and more focused on women, families, and making sure that I bring the messages of cybersecurity in a way that is easy to understand and actionable. So I'm doing a lot of videos and a lot of education for my audience, so they can start taking care of protecting what matters most to them. So that's my focus primarily right now. I do also corporate, I will have keynotes or presentations now that we went all virtual. So I do that also for my customers on the corporate world. So it's a combination, and it's just bringing the awareness that we need right now and a different perspective of how to deal with COVID-19 and the scams that we have.
Sandra, I love that you're on the front lines of this. And in fact, you can find Sandra ESTOK on Twitter at way2protect. That's way number 2 protect. And I'm glad that you're still doing the keynotes even virtually. How is that for you? Is that kind of weird, or is it sort of like a norm that you've adjusted to now?
It's different. I like the obviously when you are on a stage, or when you can touch people, is much it's a different experience. But I'm finding that technology is breaking the barriers, and I see social distancing. You get so close, and we're getting used to more screen training, and figuring out how to connect and how to to have a human interaction and bring that through technology. So I have to say that I just had my friends, we did a virtual party on Sunday, and
Cool.
because you need that connection and you need that interaction, and my husband and I will see you know we see our services, and through the online streaming, because it's a way that you keep connected with what you believe and what you like, and keep us all connected. And technology is wonderful, and I love it. We just have to be mindful, and we have to find a way to be safe in this technology and these
Sandra,
specific times we live.
the book is called Happily Ever Cyber. You can get it at, I guess, Amazon and Kindle and all that.
Yeah.
But more importantly, the foundation goal, how can we help you get to that? I guess that's my final question for you tonight.
Yes. So the foundation, so I'm just starting, so I haven't created. What I am going to do, it's a percentage of my book will go to, I will start with a charity with emphasis on orphans. What I explained to you, Alex, is my end goal. It's my final why. And I see myself doing this for the rest of my life. And this is, when you were asking me, how God communicated with me through technology, I think this is the message I receive. I have a teacher, and her name was Marlene. And she changed my life when I was 11 years old. I have two teachers. So she said to me, happiness is a choice, and you're the architect of your own life. And then I have my second teacher, and when I was 16 years old, and she said this beautiful passage that if to whom much more it's being given, much more will be asked. My entire life has been, I have been giving so much. So now is the time for me to give back. And I'm not there yet. So my foundation is not, I have to go through all the paperwork. I'm through that process right now. But in the meantime, I will be helping establish organizations until I can have my own and focus more on
Sandra,
what I mentioned.
I love it. I love how, and maybe we can talk about this another time, the effects of being hacked. I mean, some could really let that take them to their grave. I hate to say it, but that's kind of how that happened. Yeah. But you didn't let that happen. So come back soon and tell us, as we see the mental effects of all of even COVID.
Absolutely.
Talk about your mental capacity and the way you overcame this to now make your book, make the foundation, make the company, break out of the corporate world and do your own thing and do for the better. So come on back.
I will definitely. I will be, so I'm so grateful to you, and I'm blessed to be together today. And definitely I will take you up on that, and would love to come back and share more.
And especially also the technology effects of reopening, maybe some ideas on that. Now we can protect ourselves. So a lot of fun stuff, a lot of deep stuff we got to talk about coming up. So thanks so much, Sandra. This is just the start of a conversation. We'll have you back.
Absolutely. Thank you, Alex. Good night.
Good night. I'm Alex Garrett. We'll talk to you soon.